Good afternoon and welcome to this session of LinkedIn Live on increasing your sales velocity through prospecting in a new economy. My name is Ron Carr, and I'm the author of several books, including a new one coming out on May 11th called The Velocity Mindset: How Leaders Eliminate Risk, Gain Buy-in, and Achieve Better Results Faster. And with me today is my guest, Mark Hunter, a colleague of mine who's written several great selling books on his own. And his last book is called A Mind for Sales. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you so much. It's great to be on really the premier show with you as you help get your book out the door. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And you're the first one that came to my mind because of your expertise in sales and all the collaboration we've done with our clients in the past. Let's get to it because it's a 30-minute show and it goes faster than anybody will think. And if anybody has any comments, please feel free to enter them and we'll address your questions. So Mark, in your book, A Mind for Sales, you talk about the concept of, do you have the right mindset for sales? I talk about the velocity mindset. When it comes for prospecting, why don't you share with us what you think is the right mindset for being in sales when you're prospecting for new business?
Well, I like the fact that really our two books really dovetail each other. They complement each other very, very well. One of the key things that I talk about in my book is you can't prospect, you can't sell at all unless you first have sold yourself. Exactly. And because I mean, it's amazing how many salespeople don't even believe in their own product. And here's what I always say: it's not so much the product I have to believe in; it's the outcome I'm going to create as a result of you buying my product. If I can't believe in that, how in the world will I ever get a customer to believe in that? So when we talk about having a mind for sales, it really starts with your own mind first.
I agree. When we talk about the velocity mindset, we talk about having a vision. You know, what is your vision? And the vision is so important because that now will indicate what kind of actions you take on that call. So if you don't take a couple of minutes before the call to ask yourself, what's my mindset going in and what do I want to accomplish, then all roads will get you there. And most often it will be a bad sales call. So Mark, I don't know if you've seen this with your clients, but I've seen it with mine. I'll ask many times, what's your vision? What's your goal for the call? And if let's say they have a 5 sales call sales cycle, it takes them 5 calls to get a new client. They'll say in the first call, my goal is to close the client. And I go, wait a minute. But if you know it's going to take you 5 calls, that's an invalid goal. And therefore, you're going to be puking people who utter knowledge about a lot of things. You're going to bore your client to death, and it won't last long. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Well, it is. I mean, the CTA, it's not the Chicago Transit Authority. It is the call to action. And I'll tell you what, it is amazing how salespeople go in without a clear CTA. So then they just think my objective is to close the sale. No, your objective is to earn the right to the next step. That's what your objective is. Earn the right to the next step. And I think one of the reasons why salespeople hate prospecting is because they don't understand, like you just described, 5 call process, we'll say. Okay, great, terrific. They don't understand what is the goal for each one of those steps. Because if I'm calling you and you don't know I'm calling, I'm interrupting you. So why in the world are you going to sit there and say, oh, wow, I got 20 minutes to talk to Mark Hunter because he just called me out of the blue? Give me a break.
Now, you just said something that is one of my pet peeves: interruption. One of the things I always say is that whenever you call a prospect or even an existing client, we are an interruption. They're not expecting our call. They're in the busy of all the list of alligators that they're dealing with that day. And then if we don't understand as salespeople that, first of all, we're leaders. And the first thing we have to do is create a safe environment for people to want to talk to us. If you don't get into that mindset, then you will be wasting their time and they'll be hanging up sooner than later. You know, it reminds me of a story, Mark. I was brought in by this major brokerage house quite a few years ago, and they knew their numbers. They knew that it took 5 calls to get a new investor online. And they wanted to reduce that sales cycle because how much velocity will you gain if you can go from 5 to 3 calls, let's say. Mm-hmm. Now, they knew their market, the retirees, and they would call on doors. And I go with them in St. Louis, and they're knocking on doors, and a retired couple will answer the door. And I look at my watch, and it was 12 minutes when they were trying to create the social report about the grandkids and the sports teams and all this good stuff. And I can see the eyelids of the people just going up in the air like, what are you doing? And so I said to the guy, in between calls, I said, cut that down to 1 minute and address the elephant in the room. Just say, look, I know you have a broker. This is not the reason I'm here. I'm here about your future. May I ask you a question? They say, what? And I said, well, what are the 3 most important things you really want your money to provide for you in the future? And all of a sudden, the eyes started rolling up, and we knew there was a change in the mindset of the customer. When we did the research in neuroscience, we realized it's the cortisol coming down to a level where they get engaged. And you have to acknowledge, since you are an interruption and you understand how the brain works, how can you bring someone's cortisol down to where they are engaged, willing to talk to you and give you the vital information you need so you can help them? Share with us how you handle that with your clients.
Well, yeah, see, it really is about going in, and you have to engage them with, they don't care how many years you've been in business. They don't care how many awards you've won. They don't care anything about you. What they care about is their own problems, their own challenges. So I've got to be able to confront them. I got to be able to engage them with a question right out of the chute that is of interest and of value to them. That's right. The only way I'm going to be able to move you forward to the next step.
And just to be clear, the question has to be about where they're trying to go, not what they're currently doing.
Well, that's the whole thing, because, why, if I ask them what they're currently doing, then why am I talking to them? You see, sales is about a future state. Sales has to be, we are always, regardless of what we sell, it's a future state. So we have to begin painting a picture for the customer as to how they're going to get to that future state. Now, the challenge is people don't know they want to get to that future state. They really don't know, because they're undoubtedly content. They're happy. They don't know what they don't know, and they won't know until we are able to engage them. But we're not going to be able to engage them unless we start asking them questions that are of relevance and importance to them.
Right. So when we go into someone's office, they know that we're going to try and sell them something. So naturally the wall is up, the cortisol. Mm-hmm. We need to bring it down so they want to engage. So many salespeople are going in talking about asking them what they're currently doing. And they're sitting and saying, why do I have to educate you on that? What's the value for me?
Wow, you just hit on something, because if I'm asking you, the customer, to share with me story time, that is not what you woke up in the morning to do. Say, wow, I hope a salesperson reaches out to me and I get to have story time with them. That is the ultimate way to get hung up on, get rejected fast. And yet that's exactly what salespeople do too often. And then we wonder why salespeople don't like prospecting. Hello. Boom.
Yeah. Now, in today's economy, Mark, I mean, we have a unique thing that no one has had in the last 100 years since the last pandemic. We're selling in very difficult times because, people are struggling to come out of this properly, deal with their issues. And when the pandemic started, a lot of salespeople didn't even want to pick the phone up, because they'd say, who wants to hear from me? And what I was saying to them, and this works now and it also works for the future, forget about making a sales call. Make a help call. What do you think about that?
Well, that is so true. And let's come back and let's talk about this whole pandemic. You know what's funny? We didn't know we were in a pandemic until after we were in a pandemic. Now, compare this to a recession. The technical definition of a recession is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, or shall we say, decline. So that means you don't know you're in a recession until after you're in a recession. Now, you know what's interesting? It's the same thing when you come out of it. You don't know you're officially out of a recession until you get 2 quarters of positive GDP growth. Same thing with the pandemic. We didn't know we were in it till we were in it, and we won't know we're out of it until after we're out of it. So I'm telling salespeople, what you have to be focused on is not today's state, But you have to be focused on tomorrow state. And this comes back to this whole idea of future state. You've got to be driving the customer and your own mentality. To those people who are sitting there saying, oh, wow, I'm going to just wait till after it's over. You're going to be way too late. And this is where making the help call is so important, because really, if you think about it, this is where my definition of sales, and this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I believe I'm helping you when I'm trying to sell you. I firmly believe that, because here's the whole thing. My first step in being able to sell you is to help you understand and help me understand what's the situation you're in. So I've got to start off with a help call. I've got to do a help call because I'm uncovering information. If I come in and I try to sell you, hi, buy from me, I've got some really slick stuff. No. Now, a blind squirrel will find an occasional acorn. I get it. But It's not an effective strategy.
But this is really the process people should have used, whether you're in a pandemic or not. I mean, let's face it, if you're going to a Home Depot to buy a drill, you're not buying this drill for the sake of a drill. You're buying it for the 3/4 inch hole you need to make. And so that's what the sales call is about. Find out what they're trying to accomplish, because that's what they're thinking about, and that's what they're working on. And that's what's going to get their attention.
That is what's going to get their attention. In fact, you're not even looking for the 3/4 inch hole. You're looking for the picture that you're going to hang on the wall because you're drilling the 3/4 inch hole. And this is where customers, we as salespeople have to go downstream. We have to go downstream to really understand what is the outcome that the customer is looking for. You know what's interesting? When we find the outcome, and many times the customer doesn't even know it. The customer does not even know. But if we can help them realize it, help them see it, it is amazing how much easier the sale goes. But by helping.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, flesh it out. So you're asking a customer, what would success look like for you in a year? What are your 3 biggest challenges you're trying to deal with in order to get to that success? And they start painting themselves a picture. Now you've got their rapt attention. Now they're engaged in something that's really important and interesting to them. And if you can ask them to flesh it out even more before you start, quote unquote, selling them, meaning telling them how good you are, tell them to paint the picture. Tell them to clarify the words that they're using. Because Mark, we hear the same words over and over, but everybody's using those words differently based on their own biases and experiences. So we have a lot to do to really flesh out the picture of what someone views as success before we even start telling them how we can help them.
Wow, you just really nailed that with a couple key words, paint the picture. Because when I can get the customer to paint the picture, this is why I say telling stories is so key. And I think because, we were talking before we went live here about the value of empathy.
Right.
And how because of the pandemic, we've all become much more empathy oriented. Yeah, it is. And it's amazing. Let the customer paint the story. Let them paint the picture. We can add a story to that. And it's amazing how it pulls people in when they can relate to it.
Right. In the velocity mindset, we talk about empathy because it's so huge. And I've latched on that for the last 7 years with my clients, because when we realize you cannot be an effective salesperson, you cannot be an effective leader if you don't have empathy inherent in your own mindset and personality. Because it's the empathy that leads to you asking questions about them, not you talking about yourself.
See, this is where I see, along with empathy, is coming what I'm calling transparency and authenticity. And again, because of this pandemic, it's amazing how many barriers have come down, how many walls have been busted. And we really have to be seen. Customers are really, the fakeness has been brought out. Okay. I mean, because it's all exposed. So the ability to have empathy, the ability to be authentic and transparent, absolutely critical, as people are looking more and more to be doing business with people who have the same values as them, people who have the same kind of, they're focused in the same direction they're in. That's who they want to do business with.
Let's play a little game, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a question. I want you to be that retiree that we were knocking on for that financial services company. trying to get you to be the investor.
Wait, hold it. Retiree. I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, well, pretend you retired, okay? I know what you mean, because both of us will work to the day we die because we love this stuff, and I get that. But pretend you're a retiree. I'm going to give you 2 questions. I just want you to respond naturally. Don't forget about what I'm after. I want to show the audience something, okay? Fair enough? So I'm in your home, and I just talked to you about, all of the pictures there. And the first question I'm going to say is, so Mark, tell me, what are you currently doing right now with your investments? Who are you using?
Well, I'm using a couple different. I really don't know why I should be telling you this because I'm happy with who I've got.
Okay, right. And then I'm going down a zero sum game, right?
Right.
Now we're going to do
because you haven't earned the right to really.
Exactly. So now we're going to do a different question, and just please be natural with it, okay? Okay, here we go. Mark, I know you probably have someone handling your stocks and bonds. It's not the reason why I'm here today. What I am here today is about the future. Do you mind if I ask you a really important question?
Sure.
Mark, when it comes to the future, your future, what are the 3 most important things you would like your money to provide for you?
Well, I mean, take care of my wife after I'm gone, take care of the kids or leave something for the kids, and take care of some various, I don't know, charities. So I don't know. That's kind of a good question. We really need to do some more thinking about that.
Now, you didn't see this, but when I asked you that question, there was a change in your mind. Because your eyes went down. Some people go down, some people look up like this. And it means that all of a sudden their thought process has changed. Take us back to that. The first question, what were you thinking about me when I asked who you currently using?
Hell, I'm just a little bit defensive. It's like, because you haven't really earned, you're asking me to reveal inner secrets that I don't really want to share.
Okay, now, in the second question, something changed when I asked you about the 3 things you want your money to provide for you. Describe the emotions in your mind at that point.
Well, now it's a more reflective question, and it begins to get me thinking.
But also, you started to trust me a little bit.
Right.
Because you wouldn't have given me those 3 things if you didn't start trusting me.
Yeah.
So what changed? What got you trust?
Well, it was the question you asked, because the question was much more need-based about me.
Right.
And now it felt more, it felt a lot less clinical.
Right. So right now at that point, your mind went from being defensive, from protecting yourself, what does this person want, to all of a sudden getting lost in what's important to you in the future.
Yeah.
And that's the magic behind it, right?
Yeah. But I'm going to ask if you're going to be in my home to make sure you wear a mask.
Oh, yeah. And be vaccinated. Let's go the whole way, okay?
Okay. Got it.
And obviously people are not, but you bring up something important now, because we're not making sales calls. Right now, no one wants us in their offices.
Yeah.
No one wants us. So we have to even do a better job of that on the phone, on Zoom, however we're doing it. Because if we don't get people talking about where they're trying to go, they'll just zone out of us. They'll start looking at their email and, they consider the sales call to be gone, done, complete.
Yeah. And that's where they just say, hey, send me some information, which is code for we're not interested.
We've done that many times. Now, let's talk about Zoom for a second, because everybody's saying, oh, Zoom hurts us, we can't meet people. I'm actually really happy that Zoom became the norm, and let me tell you why. My biggest pet peeve with sales executives is they work so hard on a proposal. And then what do they do with the proposal? They email it. And they're losing the most important information, which is actually looking at somebody to see how they're looking at it, where they have concerns, so you can address it. So even before, COVID started, I was urging my clients to set up Zoom calls so you can present your proposal, see through the signs in their faces and the words that they're using, where they're having some issues, so you can address it and make sure it lands with the power you want it to be. Share your opinion on that.
Well, that's so true. You never deliver a presentation without a body attached. I mean, that's just, I mean, cardinal sin is to go send a proposal out to somebody. No. You send the proposal 30 seconds before you go live on your Zoom call with them. You never. But here's the whole thing. Here's why I love video is because they're more focused. They're more engaged. Now, don't talk about Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue does not exist. And here's why. Why is it that we can sit here and say, oh, Zoom fatigue, but we can sit down on the couch and watch 4 hours of Netflix at night?
Zoom fatigue is real if you're bored.
There, bingo. You win the prize. You get to come back and play again on tomorrow's round. Will you go for the big money?
Ooh,
yeah,
wait.
Yeah. But see, that's exactly what it is. Because if it's boring, people are going to check out, right? And then they say, "Oh man, please."
So let's get back to I like tying things up, from open conversations we had. So what is your goal? If you're making a first sales call and it's a multi-call sales cycle to get a deal, then going into the first sales call and saying I want the deal is not an effective goal. For me, I always tell my clients is to qualify whether they're the ideal customer for you or not and identify the path forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that approach. The underlying concept that I have is with every call I make, I want to earn the right, the privilege, honor, and respect to be able to talk with you again. Okay, so how do I do that? What I want to do is I want to really come away with 3 things if possible. Now, I'm going to be satisfied with one of the 3, but 3 is what I'm looking for. The 3, one piece of information that you're going to share with me that I can turn around and use later on. In other words, I can ask you a follow-up question on, I can play it back to you in an email, voicemail, whatever. So that's one piece. 2, I want to be able to create a dedicated time that we can have a follow-up conversation. Because undoubtedly, I've caught you at a bad time. So maybe it's tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever it might be. And the third thing is one piece of information that leads me to believe you do want to make a decision. Now, if I can get those 3 things out in that first call, I'm doing a happy dance. That's a great call.
Now let's do email and voicemail, because a lot of times that's the first call. People rely on email, they rely on voicemail. So it used to be when you did emails that the longer the copy, the better. That's not the case today. The subject line is so important. It has to have an outcome, what it means to the customer, and your body should challenge them in the way they think, but it should be less words, less is more, because remember, the goal of the email is not to sell yourself, it's to get them to call you back. Your thoughts?
That is so true. You never want to give them enough information in an email to allow them to make a decision. The rule that I have with an email is one swipe. If they can't read it on the smartphone, it's one swipe. Too long. That means it's not going to be more than 4 to 6 sentences max. And don't start the email off by saying, "Hi, my name is Mark Hunter. I'd like to introduce." Oh, give me a break. Somebody sends me an email like that, I go delete, because it's a salesperson trying to sell me something. I don't care. You hit it. It's the subject line and maybe the first 6, 7 words of that email. That's what's going to grab my attention. And if it isn't about me, relevant to me, gone.
And the goal is not to tell them what you do and all the stuff you have to offer, because it's not the right time. The goal is challenge them in a way that they're thinking and say, let me share with you some information we found. Please give me a call. The whole objective of the email is to get them to call you back, not to sell them.
That is without doubt. And have them call you. Now, they know they can email you because it's called reply. Okay, they get that. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to generate the phone call. And please don't sit there and include 6 links and include a PDF document, include all this sort of stuff. Man, you are just like loser.
Let's get to the phone. How do we do that in the voicemail?
I love a good voicemail is only 12 to 16 seconds. Hey, Ron Carr, Mark Hunter of the Sales Center, got some insights for you on how you can really close more deals faster. Give me a call, 402-598-6194. Thanks, Ron. Look forward to talking to you. 402-598-6194.
Right, and they never remember the name anyway, but they need to remember the reason why they're going to call you and take their time.
That's the key. And the key thing is simply to ask them a question or state a fact. Now, one of the things I love doing, hey, Ron, I've got some information regarding, it's helped a number of other companies, just like yours. Call me.
And one of the things that I learned, and I learned this from Nito Cobain, who's the president of High Point University, he always said, people always like to be shared with. Don't say, I want to tell you, I want to share with you some insights that I have. People always respond to that.
That is share is a magic word. And the other magic word that I found, opinion. Hey, look to get your opinion on this. Because
Yes.
people always want to share their opinion. I mean, yeah, share an opinion. I tell you what, those are magic words right now.
Right. So I'm here with Mark Hunter. This is Ron Carr. I'd like to welcome Mike Regan, and we also have Dr. Lisa Jenkins listening to us, as well as a slew of others. We hope that you're getting value out of this thing. And Patricia Fripp heard me say that, she smacked me across the face. Out of this interview, she hates when, another thing, according to a dear colleague of ours, Patricia Fripp, never use the word thing. Your product is not a thing. Your ideas are not a thing. It's an idea, it's a product, or whatever. So here's what we want to offer you guys. There's a lot more to this subject that we've talked about: vision for the sales call, how to penetrate and prospecting during this tough times to get your attention. So there's two assets that we can offer you. First is going to be Mark Hunter's A Mind for Sales. And you can get this on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes, you can. Or that's the best place to go, Amazon.
And you're talking about, the concept of mindset and so forth, which is really valuable. The other asset is the new book that I got coming out, which is called The Velocity Mindset: How Leaders Eliminate Risk, Gain Buy-in, and Achieve Better Results Faster. And here's what we're offering you today. If you'd like your copy delivered to you before anybody can get it on Amazon at a 15% discount because of a pre-sale, simply go to roncarr.com/velocity mindset and you can order that copy today. Mark, any final words for our audience when it comes to sales, and anything that you want to leave them with on this Tuesday afternoon?
Hey, it's been great to be on the inaugural show with you. Here's what I'll leave with you. Sales is without a doubt the greatest profession, because it's really the one where we get to help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Think about that. Get to do that every day. That's a pretty good life. Thanks, Ron.
And that's it. And the mindset, as you said, is think of yourself as a salesperson. Think of all the good things you're bringing to the party. But at the end of the day, everything you do and say has got to be customer focused. It cannot be self-focused. Because when it's about you, your level of influence deteriorates. When it's about the customer, you're at your highest level of influence. This has been Ron Carr with Mark Hunter talking about how to gain sales velocity in the new economy. We wish you all well. Go out there, make it happen. Go bring your solutions to the markets. And both Mark and I are hoping that 2021 is going to be a year that delivers results beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you for attending.